Hi, welcome to Yoga for Resilience and Brain Health. My name's Angie and my pronouns are she or they. I am both a registered nurse and a yoga instructor, and I am creating these videos as another tool or a way for us to be able to use yoga to help benefit our bodies physically and our physical health, not just the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects that can come with yoga. They actually have some physiologic and some real health benefits for our bodies. Today's practice is going to be more of a gentle practice. I do give options, so if you want more activation, you want to add more muscle engagement, definitely there's that option available for you. And along with that, this is your practice. So anything that I say today is just a suggestion. So if I'm cueing something that doesn't feel good to you or just doesn't sound interesting, try something else. Go with whatever feels best to you. That's what's most important. And along those lines, just make sure that your body is safe for exercise so that you've reached out to a healthcare provider. And if you have any pain, definitely stop, ease back, and then reach out to some sort of a movement coach, myself, another yoga instructor, just to make sure that you're moving safely within your body and your structure and anatomy. So with that, let's get started. For practice today, if you have it, 2 blocks are going to come in very handy. If you don't have blocks, books can work well if you have 2 books of the same size. Or if you don't have those, don't worry about it. I'll give cues without, so it won't be that big of a deal. You are going to want a blanket or a pillow, a towel, anything like that that can be folded, can be rolled up just for some extra padding. We're going to start seated, and I always recommend having at least a blanket, especially when we're starting out. So come down to a comfortable seat, and comfortable seat can look a lot of different ways. Maybe it's legs crisscross applesauce, maybe it's legs out to the sides or seated like this, maybe it's sitting in a chair, but find something that you can sit in for a little bit. Pull any of your fleshy bits out so you can really press your sitting bones down. In fact, kind of maybe shake, shimmy your hips a little bit side to side, and see if you can find that press of the sitting bones down. Whatever variation you're doing, and as you do that, maybe start to notice, can you bring a little bit more length up through your torso? But check in with your shoulders, rolling your shoulders up and down your back, not hunching them by the ears. And then maybe start to add a little sway to your body. Just starting to check in, notice what's coming up for you. Notice maybe looking around your room, your space, wherever you are. Maybe looking with fresh eyes, like you've never looked in there before. Maybe stopping and noticing, is there a color that draws your attention? There's a purple on a cloth thing that I have off to the side that keeps drawing my attention today. So just notice if there's something that visually is pulling you in. And then maybe check in internally. Notice what's coming up for you inside. If that's not comfortable for you yet, no worries, don't worry about it. Maybe if it's comfortable, closing your eyes. If not, maybe looking down at the ground. Our brain is an amazing part of our body. Our brain has so many functions and regulates so many things that it really is spectacular. One of the things when we are little is that our brain is growing. So it's developing all these new pathways, it's learning, it's absorbing information, and it's actually growing. Most of us, when we reach about age 25, our brain typically stops growing, or it stops that childlike growth or the child development that we had. And so we can still create these new neural pathways in our body or create new skills, new functioning abilities, but it's much harder for us as we get older. And then as we get into our older years, our brain actually starts to decrease in size. It starts to shrink, and we start to lose some of our ability to process information. It's called cognitive decline of aging. And it just happens, it's a normal part of life. And there are many things that we can do to help slow that. Nothing can quite reverse that, but there are things that we can do to help slow that. And building new pathways in our brain is one of those ways that we can do that. It's much harder after age 25 to do, but it still can be done. Yoga is fantastic at helping create new pathways because yoga activates so many different areas in the brain that it actually helps to build pathways in different areas. So, with all that information about the brain, let's get started into a yoga for resilience and brain health practice. So, staying seated, if you want, picking up the crossing of your legs, maybe bring them out in front, shake them out. We were sitting there for a little bit. And then if your legs were crossed, maybe switch the crossing of your legs coming the opposite direction. Notice one way feels more natural, one way typically for most of us feels more weird. If you're seated in a chair, maybe just kind of shift, readjust. Whatever variation you're taking, re-roll your shoulders up and down your back. Lengthen up through your torso. And then maybe lean forward. Start to run your fingers along whatever you have on the floor. Maybe noticing the difference between the texture in the mat and the texture on your carpet or your floor. For me, the mat feels leathery. Starting to really explore, what does it feel like? Touch and sensations can help to process in different areas in our brain than our thinking brain does. Maybe bring some touch to the pants that you're wearing versus skin. Exploring what the difference feels like. Maybe your shirt. And then maybe touch the scalp. What does your hair feel like? They're all different sensations. Just starting to become aware. What are the sensations that you're feeling? And maybe if sensations is uncomfortable for you to really check in with, maybe just explore touching the ground. The mat feels very different from the carpet. If it's comfortable closing your eyes, maybe notice the temperature on your skin. Is it warm or cool? If it's comfortable, eyes closed, maybe notice what sounds you hear. For me, I like to get a sway as I do this because sometimes coming into sensations can feel very uncomfortable for me. So just notice, is stillness more comfortable? Beautiful. And then whatever is exploring, maybe take 1 or 2 more counts. Beautiful. And then come back to center. Hands come to the sides of your legs, bringing your legs out. Shake out your arms, shake out your legs. Beautiful. Spinning around, coming to hands and knees, coming to tabletop. Now is a great place. We're going to be here on our knees for a few minutes. So if you like having some padding under your knees, definitely I recommend having some padding under your knees. And in tabletop, you want hands to be about shoulder width distance apart, working to bring the wrist underneath the shoulder. If that's not comfortable on your wrist, that can put a lot of strain on the wrist. Maybe bring the wrist forward just a little bit. Otherwise, working to have the shoulder stacking over your wrists. Pick your feet up, shake your feet out, and then set them back down on the ground. From here, taking a couple rounds of cat-cow, just working to warm your spine up. Inhale, belly drops, chest draws forward, shoulder blades draw together. Press into your feet, see if you can engage the low belly. And then exhale, rounding out, drawing your tailbone down. See if you can push each one of your spinal bones out. Inhale, chest drops forward, collarbones wide, shoulder blades work to draw together. pressing into your hands. Can you check in with all four corners of your palm? Do you find the press under your second finger, your thumb, your pinky finger, and that outer edge of your wrist? And then same thing, pressing out, arms stay straight. Can you find those four corners of your palms again? This time, if you want to try something new, maybe curling your toes under and try down dog with the toes curled under. See how that changes the sensations. Exhale. If you work with breath, if breath doesn't feel comfortable, don't move with the breath. Move at whatever pace feels good. And then from here, bringing your big toes to touch if that's comfortable. Sinking your heels back. Sinking your hips back over your heels. Come to a child's pose. If sitting all the way back in child's pose isn't comfortable, maybe try adding a block between your hips and your heels, or add a block in between your abdominal muscles and your thighs. Or if that's just not comfortable, feel free to come to a seat and stretch your arms up overhead. Whatever variation you're in, just reaching forward, starting to sink down to the ground, or starting to stretch the arms up to the sky. Beautiful. When you're ready, curling your toes under, lifting up your hips, coming up into downward facing dog. Moving your blanket out of the way. And then in downward facing dog, feet hips-ish width distance apart, maybe shoulder width distance apart. Bending into the knees. Try and draw yourself back like someone's pulling you back by your hips. Hands maybe shoulder width distance apart. And keep the knees bent. Don't worry about how straight the heels are. And then exhale, walk your feet up to your hands, coming into forward fold. So in forward fold, same thing, keep a bend in the knees. Not worrying about how straight the legs are. Crown of the head comes down to the ground. And then just maybe try pedaling your legs out. So straightening one leg, bending the other. Maybe take some weight into the balls of your feet and then the heel of your feet. And as you do that, can you keep the weight balanced evenly between the big toe and the pinky toe side of your feet? If that's challenging for you, maybe try hands on the block and just explore. What does it feel like? Can you find all four corners of your feet? So under the big toe and the pinky toe. And then as you come back to the heel, do you feel a right side and a left side to your heel? That one's more challenging for me. Maybe wiggling your toes and then exhale, bending your knees, slowly rolling up to standing. Head, neck, and shoulders being the last things to come up. And then palms come to stand, face forward. Feet about hips width distance apart. Come to stand in Tadasana, mountain pose. Beautiful. Close your eyes, check in. Notice maybe what's coming up for you. And then whatever it is, blinking your eyes open, shake it out. And then come to stand in Tadasana. Feet hips-ish width distance apart. Maybe lengthening up through the torso, slight bend in the knees, pressing into the feet, palms face forward. Check in. Notice, maybe bring some awareness. Once again, what do you hear? I hear car doors closing outside my window. Activating into areas in our brain that we don't normally activate into, or we don't bring as much awareness to. Maybe wiggling your toes on the ground. What does your mat feel like? Or what does your ground, your surface you're standing on feel like? Maybe bending your knees, pressing into that a little bit more. Beautiful, and then letting it go. Shake out your arms, shake out your legs. Let go of whatever was coming up for you. Step to the front of your mat. Bring your feet to that comfortable distance apart, slight bend in the knees. See if you can find all four corners of your feet. Notice maybe your body has to shift a little bit. Maybe you don't feel all four corners. Totally fine. It's about bringing that awareness, seeing if you can actually find it. So I sometimes have to shift my body side to side, front to back. Beautiful. And then when you're ready to move on, hands coming to prayer, have a block close by just in case you want to use it for balance. And if you don't have one, no worries, I'll give cues without. So bend into your left knee and start to pick the right leg up. Just so you know, I don't mirror, so I am going to be opposite of you as we're doing this demo. Just to be aware, go with whichever side works best for you. Maybe wiggle your toes. See what it feels like to let the air rush through your toes. Perfect. And then set it down. Shake it out. When you're ready, bending into the right leg, hands coming to prayer, lifting up, and then lift this left leg up. Same thing, maybe try wiggling your toes. Doing movements that activate the right side and the left side really activate more areas of the brain. The right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, and the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. So doing movements that are opposite activates more areas of the brain. So shake it out. Beautiful. So we're gonna do that again, but we're gonna add on to it. So when you're ready, bending into that left knee, right leg picks up. And then if you want, slowly moving as slow as you can, pendulum that leg back and step it down, coming into a warrior two. So in warrior two, left toes are facing forward. Back foot can be wherever is most comfortable for your hips. If you have tight hips, make your feet a little bit wider. So heel to heel, heel to arch, finding something that helps to keep your hips open. Bring a slight bend to both knees, and then just kind of shift your hips out a little bit. So notice this might be a position you don't normally stand in warrior two, totally fine. But check in and notice, how did your body move? And then when you're ready, work to straighten-ish that back leg, but still keep a slight bend in that back knee. Pressing into the front foot, arms coming up to shoulder width height, maybe wiggling your fingers, gaze coming over the front fingers. Now we're gonna explore warrior two a little bit, or Virabhadrasana 2. Hands can stay out to the side. You can bring your hands to your hips, but we're gonna take a surfing warrior two. So all that is that starting to ride the waves with your body. Arms out, arms by your hips. Notice we're moving in different ways. We're adding in something different that we don't always do in warrior two, trying to create new pathways. For me, it feels like a massage in my spine, in my internal organs. So hands coming to your hips, and then step that back leg up to the front leg, shake it out. Beautiful. We're gonna switch sides. So the block is here in case as you go to come down, you wanna hold onto the block. You can always use a wall, anything for balance, if you feel like you need it. When you're ready, balancing into the right leg, left leg lifts up. Balance is really good to help build new pathways in the brain. Pendulum that leg back, coming to step in your warrior two. So back foot, left foot this time, can be slightly angled with the toes angled forward. That can open up some tension in the hips for those of us with really tight hips. Work to keep your knee stacking over that front ankle or behind. Just make sure that you're not going in front because that can strain into the knee. And then bend into your back leg and just kind of start moving your hips around. Noticing, building new pathways, finding how can your body move that you weren't aware of. And when you're ready, more of a straight back leg. I always keep a slight bend because it helps to tap into the muscles a little bit easier. Arms either coming out shoulder width height, palms down, gaze over the front fingers, or hands can be on the hips if you want to explore something different. And then come into your surfing warrior two. Notice, maybe exploring, what does that feel like? It's much more challenging for me to do this way because I have some limited mobility on this left side, so just notice. Does something like that come up for you? Beautiful. And then whenever you're ready, hands coming down to the hips. Step that back foot up to the front leg. Shake it out. All right, beautiful. Now, stepping to the front of your mat. We're gonna do this one a little bit differently this time. So when you're ready, hands come to prayer. Have your 2 blocks set up at the front of the mat if you're gonna use them. So hands in prayer, bending slightly into that left knee, finding the balance in the left leg, right leg lifts. Slowly pendulum that leg straight back. And this time set the foot down coming into a high lunge. So you want your left foot and your right foot to be about hips width distance apart. And then from here, sink down, either hands coming to the blocks or to that left thigh, maybe scooting back, coming into a low lunge. So shift and adjust coming into this low lunge. Hands can be on the blocks or on the thigh. If they're on the ground, just make sure that you're really still reaching. A lot of times when we come to the ground, we tend to round into it. So it's more about keeping the length in the back. And then from here, maybe squeezing both glute muscles. Try and squeeze the inner thighs together. Maybe shifting the foot out, maybe shift back and forward just a little bit, big stretch. Same thing, working to keep the knee over that front foot. And check in with that left foot. Can you find all 4 corners of the left foot? And while you're doing that, can you find a big toe and a pinky toe side of the right foot? Maybe, maybe not. And then, whenever you're ready, straighten your legs, step that back leg up to the front leg, shake it out. Beautiful. Switching sides. So when you're ready, hands coming to prayer, balancing, left leg lifts up. Slowly pendulum, finding your balance. That leg coming back, set it down, starting with a high lunge, maybe finding your balance, and then maybe adjusting that front foot forward a little bit more, stepping down, coming into either hands on the thigh, hands on the block, maybe then shifting and adjusting a little bit more. Just work to keep this front knee over the front heel. And then same thing, we're gonna just kind of explore. Can you find the big toe and pinky toe side of your right foot? Can you find the ball and the heel of the front leg? Maybe notice how that changes the muscles or the muscle activation. And then check in with the back leg. Can you find the big toe and pinky toe side? On my left leg, my left foot likes to roll to the outside. So check in, notice if you have something like that. It's building new pathways. Belly drawing in. And then when you're ready, step, dance, jump, hop, whatever you want, that back foot up to the front foot. Shake it out. Bending into your knees, slowly roll up to standing. Head, neck, and shoulders being the last things to come up. Beautiful. Come to stand in Tadasana or mountain pose. Maybe add that sway, noticing if that helps. Maybe stillness feels better. And whatever it is, blinking your eyes open, shake it out. Shake out that tension in your legs, shake out that effort you just did. Woo, catch your balance. Beautiful. We're going to come into one more balance pose. Balance is fantastic for helping, or balance poses in yoga are fantastic for helping that neuroplasticity or the brain grow these new pathways, because balance is such a challenge for us. It takes so much mental concentration. So this one, I fully acknowledge, is going to be one that for many of us is very challenging. So if balance is slightly off for you, definitely have a wall close by that you can lean into in the event that you need it. So I'm going to go backwards. You can do it side to side, however is most convenient for you. But we're going to come into a pose that's called tightrope. So picking up your right foot, set it down exactly in front of your left foot, heel to toe. So then from here, hands come to prayer, and And then work to shift your weight so that you're balancing the weight evenly between both legs. This is a lot of work, so if you feel like you're struggling, fantastic. I am too. If you notice I'm shaking, I'm having a hard time holding still. So with balance poses, see if you can find someplace on your body that feels stable. Maybe bring some awareness to the crown of your head. That's where I always come to. And then see if that can help settle that balance down. And then shifting to standing straight up, shake it out. So when you're ready, balancing into the right leg, left leg sets down, heel to toe. So find your balance, hands come to prayer, or if you want, they can be out to the side, kind of finding the balance for you. Ooh. Maybe you need them to keep the balance. But if you can, start to bring some awareness maybe to a spot. Something, pick a focal point, something to look at that's not moving. Or maybe bring some awareness to a point on your body that feels stable. Like I said, the crown of my head is where I go. Try not to look down because you will fall if you go where your gaze goes. Beautiful, and then stepping out of it, shake it out. All right, I'm gonna offer that one more time. If you wanna join me, feel free. I'm gonna add another option on if you wanna add a little more challenge to it. If that felt good for you, feel free to do what we just did again, or feel free to skip it. So, balancing into the left leg, right foot comes straight and forward. Shift your weight forward a little bit so that you're trying to find that even balance between both feet, squeezing your inner thighs together. And then either holding here if you want to add a little bit more on, try and challenge yourself a little bit more. Maybe try blinking your eyes closed for 1 second. And then maybe try closing them for 2 seconds. And then maybe try closing them for 3, or stop anywhere along the line. See if you can find that balance. It requires activation, squeezing the thighs, quieting the mind. Beautiful, and then shifting back, shake out the arms, shake out the legs. Last time, balancing into the right leg, left leg picks up, steps in front of that right leg. So start to shift the weight forward, maybe wiggle your toes, notice if you're gripping, maybe feel the sensations of the mat underneath you, see if that can help to bring that mind-foot connection. This one I'm clearly a little more wobbly on. Squeezing the inner thighs, see if you can find something to help quiet the mind. Is there a spot on your body that feels stable? Maybe explore, maybe your pinky toe feels stable. And then if you want to add in, close that blinking of the eyes for 1 second. Maybe for 2 seconds. You want to challenge yourself, maybe try 3 seconds. And then when you're ready, shifting the weight back, shake it out. Shake out your arms, shake out your legs, just let it all go. That's a lot of work to do. It takes a lot of muscle activation, a lot of brain activation. That's a great one for brain health. Beautiful, and then just stretching into your toes, kind of roll it around. Not much weight in this right foot, just more kind of stretching into the foot. And then set it down. And then stretching into your other foot, coming up to the tiptoes or stiletto heel. I call it a kickstand. Not much weight, not straining into that left knee or the toes or the ankles. Maybe your ankle will pop. Beautiful. And then setting it down. Setting your blocks off if they were on the mat. Stepping to the front of your mat. Feet coming to about 6 to 8 inches apart or hips width distance. Bending into your knees, press and reach arms, reach out up overhead. Exhale, swan dive, coming down into a forward fold. Beautiful. From here, bending your knees, coming down to a seat. And then from a seat, come all the way down to your back. Beautiful, hugging your knees into your chest, rounding your back. But check in, notice, is your sacrum, that triangle bone between the two hips, is that up off the ground? A lot of times when we lift it up, trying to get our knees in closer to our chest, it strains into the low back. So instead, maybe try pressing that sacrum, or the spot between your two hips, on the ground. Your knees aren't going to be as close to your chest, maybe changing the grip on your hands, but work to keep the sacrum on the ground and bring your knees in from the hips, not the low back. Check in with your shoulders. Notice if they're hunched up, roll them back down onto the mat. And then keeping the low belly active as you protect the low back, maybe rounding the knees out, maybe rolling circles with your legs. And then bringing your feet up to the sky. If being on your back is not comfortable for you, you can do this seated. It is a little more challenging, but feel free to explore it if being on your back isn't comfortable. So arms and legs out. And then I like to call this turtle on its back. So imagine that you're a turtle swimming in the ocean. You're on a current, the wave is taking you. How would you swim if you were a turtle swimming in the ocean? And then maybe explore your hands and feet as flippers instead of fingers and toes. How would you move? That's definitely not a way we typically move, so it's going to be uncomfortable and weird. Just exploring, starting to find ways to create new pathways in the brain to keep it active and healthy. And maybe doing different things with the right side and the left side and the arms and the legs, just activating into as many areas in the brain as you can. And then making any last movements you feel interested in or curious about, maybe stretching before settling into Shavasana, or final resting pose. And final resting pose can look a lot of different ways. Maybe it's with arms and legs out, lying on your back. Maybe being flat on your back is not comfortable for you, so try bending your knees, feet come to the wide edges of your mat, and let your knees fall in together. Maybe it's on your side in a fetal position. Or maybe Shavasana for you is seated. I'm going to take my Shavasana seated today. So if you're going to be seated, just make sure you sit up on a blanket or something to keep the back long. Maybe taking a deep breath if breathwork is comfortable for you. Exhale, letting go. This time, if it's comfortable, make a sound through your exhale, or make a sound through your throat as we exhale, because that's going to activate into a different area in your brain than just an exhale that doesn't have a sound. So I'm going to stick out my tongue and kind of make a big heavy sigh. So explore whatever sound you want. So on the inhale, take a big breath. Oh, and feel free to skip this, by the way. So big breath in, exhale. That felt good. Maybe one more. And then settle into Shavasana. We'll be here for about a minute. any man could, if he were so inclined, be the sculptor of his own brain. Santiago Ramon y Cajal. Slowly start to bring some life and some movement back into your body. Wiggling your fingers and your toes. Rolling out your wrists and your ankles. And then reaching your arms up overhead, coming into one last final full body stretch. Stretching into your right side and then into your left. Beautiful. And if you're on your back, bring your knees into your chest, rolling to whichever side is most inviting for you. If you're in any other position, just come to a comfortable seat, however is most comfortable and easiest for you. Once again, comfortable seat can be legs crisscross applesauce, maybe seated in a chair. And then bringing your right hand, flexing at the wrist, coming in towards the center of the chest in half prayer, right elbow out, left hand, all four fingers and thumb together. And then as dramatically as you want, give yourself a high five, hands coming into prayer. Thank your amazing body for all the wonderful work that it does for you. If it's comfortable, bring the base of your thumbs up to that point between your two eyes to your third eye. And thank your amazing mind for letting you explore, finding this different relationship between your brain and your body, or whatever felt comfortable to you today. And then if it's comfortable, bringing your hands back to heart center, bowing down. The light and dark in me sees and honors the light and dark in all of you. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Beautiful job. Let me know what you thought. Let me know how that felt. Drop me a line in the comments. I love to hear how that resonates with people. Let me know if it didn't work for you. I love to hear that as well. And then please, if you like these videos, like, subscribe, and share. And then follow me on social media. On Facebook, it's AB Yoga Info, and on Instagram, it's AB_yoga_info. I love to give lots of information if you can't tell, so that goes along with the AB Yoga. And then I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.